Gen Z men, as it turns out, are the most based generation in a long time, with a new statistic coming out that Gen Z boys and men are more likely than even baby boomers to believe feminism is harmful. Leave a like on the video. We can appreciate civilization may have a chance just yet. And of course, the media's melting down about it, calling it, of course, Gen Z boys believe feminism is harmful. They've learned from the internet. They're having absolute meltdowns at these feminist rags, and we're going to take a look at it. First, the overall data. Gen Z boys and men more likely than baby boomers to believe feminism is harmful, says poll. Boys and men from Gen Z are more likely than older baby boomers to believe that feminism has done more harm than good, according to research that shows the real risk of fractious division among this coming generation. Man, I could barely contain my happiness. 1 in 4 UK males aged from 16 to 29 believe it is harder to be a man than a woman, and a fifth of those who have heard of him are now looking favorably on the social media influencer Andrew Tate. The polling of over 3,600 people found. Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with Andrew Tate. I don't know how popular he is in Gen Z. I'm not entirely sure, but of course they're going to want to try to tie it to him. The best-selling author and Canadian academic Jordan Peterson is also seen favorably by 32% of 16 to 29-year-old men. That's not even that high of a rating. And they're having a meltdown. Let me put it this way. They are having a meltdown over this. They're melting down that men view Jordan Peterson just 32% favorably. That's so wild to me that they're this afraid of, the machine falling apart. Peterson speaks up for demoralized young men, says Tate offers a forthright aggression as an alternative to cringing defeat. I agree. On feminism, 16% of Gen Z males felt it had done more harm than good. Among over 60s, it was just 13%. Now, there's probably a reason for that. When you look at somebody who's 75 years old, they saw first, second wave feminism era type stuff. Like, women can vote or women can do this or that. If you're younger, you've only seen this third wave feminism crap, which now that women have all the same rights as any man, in fact, in college admissions and many careers, they have a significant leg up, and they're still whinging and complaining about the myth of the wage gap and how difficult it is to be a woman in American. Not all women, especially not my beautiful viewers, but these modern feminist types are still trying to pretend like they're oppressed, when the reality is women are getting the leg up at almost every conceivable turn, whether it's college admissions or it's job applications, or, if you're a woman and you're not white, you're at the top of the pile for just about anything on the planet right now. Anyway, article continues. The figures emerged from Ipsos polling from King College's London Policy Institute. The research also found that 37% of men consider, quote, toxic masculinity an unhelpful phrase, roughly double the number of young women who don't like it. Uh-oh. You mean after years of calling men toxic that they point out that, maybe that term isn't helpful. Maybe categorizing all men as bad wasn't very productive. Quote, this is a new and unusual pattern, said Professor Bobby Duffy, director of the Policy Institute. Normally, it tends to be the case that younger generations are consistently more comfortable with emerging social norms as they grow up with these as a natural part of their life. Larger proportions of men still think it's harder to be a woman today than a man, that feminism has done more good than harm, and have an unfavorable view of Andrew Tate. Who cares about Andrew Tate? This is about the young generation breaking the mold. It's bigger than just Andrew Tate. Yes, he's a popular influencer, but there are a lot of people out there who have been in the corner of young men, defending them against these absurd attacks of toxicity and the just the negative stereotypes about men in general. I've been fighting this fight for 15 years. All right. There's a lot more people out there than just Tate who fought back against this toxic label for men just being normal men, which, by the way, now, I've just read an article yesterday where a woman was complaining that men aren't masculine enough anymore. It's like, hey, this is what you told them. For the last 20 years, you said you wanted men drinking soy lattes and lactating with you. Now you got it and you don't like it, like we told you you wouldn't. There's also, what's interesting is there's been a zeitgeist where young women feel that they can own the idea of feminist identity. Young men hear a lot about girl power, but don't, at this stage in their lives, understand the inequalities that we know are in the world when you hit work and childcare. Yeah, guess what? Guess what, Gen Z? It's going to get harder for men in the workforce. It's only going to get harder for men to get the same opportunities as women. Just look at the college admission rates. It is overwhelmingly women getting into colleges, which, again, doesn't mean that you're going to have an automatic success in life. But, you just look at all the things men lag behind on. Look at men's and mental health. Look at how many men off themselves every year compared to women. Look at the homeless population, which is almost 80+% men or something. It's an enormously overwhelmingly men. Okay, so I don't want to go down this road of pretending like men don't have struggles, because they do. In the meantime, social media algorithms are filling the vacuum. She said, this could be that changes when young men enter the workforce, but we can't take that for granted given how important social media is in the way we understand ourselves. So I guess they're going to want more bans, right? Leave a like on this video if you think young men are going to be all right. Ethnic minority men are most likely to follow Tate, with more than a third agreeing he raises important points about real threats to the male identity and gender roles, compared with 12% among white men. Samples don't really care about that. Tate preaches that young men should take control of their own lives, shouting at them in a recent video footage over of him vaping, driving a sports car. You're not supposed to be happy. You're supposed to be monumentally influential and capable. Absolutely nothing wrong with that message, by the way. Now, I don't want to make this about Tate, because I want to make this about Gen Z and now the meltdown of it. Of course, Gen Z boys believe feminism is harmful. They learn it from the internet. These women are always struggling, aren't they? Not women TM. Not women TM. That's obviously not the case. But we're talking about these women. So much for open-minded youth. A new survey published today found that boys and men from Gen Z are more likely than older baby boomers to believe feminism has done more harm than good. I'm a member of Gen Z, and I'm not surprised. Why? Almost everything I first learned about feminism was from social media. And it looks like if we look at this apparent regression, it's not a regression, by the younger generation, it seems almost too easy to point fingers at the internet. But I'm someone who has grown up online. I made my first Facebook account at 8 years old. I've seen firsthand how much my generation relies on influencers and social media stars for information. Being a woman, I'm not in Tate's target demographic, but if I were, I would have likely been subjected to the marketing machinery used to lure others into his orbit. Everybody's making this about Tate. Again, I don't have anything against his messages about, masculinity and men taking control of themselves and stuff like that. But this is bigger than just Andrew Tate. This is a pushback by an entire generation that has said, you know what, I'm tired of you calling us toxic. I'm tired of you saying that we have it so easy. And when you look at it, quite frankly, Gen Z generation is probably going to end up being the most against feminism, because they're going to spend most of their life fighting against the byproducts of it, which is, of course, tougher road for men, period. Of course, the internet has no excuse for misogyny. The men who are absorbing the noxious content must also be held accountable. But whether or not you're asking or not, pretty much all of your online activity is dependent on what algorithm is showing you. My algorithm has given me the feminism is good and great strain, offering up aesthetically pleasing pink-colored infographics with messages like less cat calls, more cats. Feminism has been packaged to me in a different way and was palatable and hard to disagree with. But I know what my male Gen Z peers see something entirely different. Algorithms often operate on extremes because people tend to click and engage on the most sensational hyperbolic content This is what the algorithm serves up. Well, maybe what you were getting, you're more, less cat calls, more cats. Don't you see that you're admitting that that's on the extreme side too? The social media algorithm isn't necessarily evil, just amoral and ripe for exploitation by the most extreme and predatory content pushers. So the feminism good content is not extreme and it's good. Anything else is extreme and bad. I think that, ultimately, also, unfortunately, no easy solution. Who says it's a problem? Men should be proud. Men should be confident. Social media's algorithmic sprawl is like an ocean, vast, churning, and impossible to fight. Platforms like X or TikTok need to do a better job at suppressing harmful and misogynistic content. Or if that fails, changes in legislation maybe. So you literally want the laws changed because Gen Z men are growing up and seeing the world for how it really is. I'm proud of you, young men. Stay on task. Be great. Focus on yourself. Focus on securing the bag, getting your job, finishing your school, whatever it is that's important to you being a whole human being. Handle that first because you can see they are withering at the idea of you succeeding. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it and we'll talk to you again real soon.